Yo, what's going on, fam? Welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I'm going to be doing a quick review comparing both the new PolarPro Peter McKinnon Variable ND, the 2 to 5 stops, and comparing it to the popular Tiffen Variable ND 2 to 8 stops. And the specs I'll be comparing are price, build quality, number of stops, what it comes with, color and tint, and vignetting. And while I unbox this real quick, I'm going to go over what a ND filter is. So neutral density filters, or ND filters, are pretty much sunglasses for your camera. And the ND filters control how much light comes into the camera. And the most common situation where I would use an ND filter, such as this one, would be when I'm shooting outdoors and it's pretty bright out and I want to shoot at a shallow depth of field. A quick example would be, let's say if I were to go outdoors right now, shoot in the normal settings I normally would, which would be S-Log2, where I would expose for 2 stops over, or when the exposure meter on the bottom is plus 2.0 and it's not blinking. And if I wanted to shoot at 4K and 24 frames per second. If I were to go do that right now outdoors, with my lens, which I would probably use an f2.8 lens, there would be too much light coming into the camera and I would not be able to shoot at f2.8, and I would have to bump it up to f16 or f22 or something like that. And I wouldn't be able to get that shallow depth of field I would want to get the most out of that lens I would be using. So to sum it up real quick, the ND filter acts as sunglasses for your camera to control how much light comes in. And if you wanted to shoot at a shallow depth of field of f1.4, f2.8, then you need to pick up a variable ND filter to put over your lens in order to control how much light comes into your camera and for you to shoot at a low f-stop of whatever you want to shoot at. So now that you guys know what ND filters they use for, if you guys didn't know already, now I'm going to be comparing the brand new PolarPro Peter McKinnon Variable ND with the Tiffen Variable ND. So real quick tip before you even buy your variable ND filter, what I didn't know when I first started was that I would normally buy an ND filter to fit the thread size of that specific lens. But what I didn't know was you could buy a step-up ring, and by buying one of these, I could just get one variable ND filter to fit the largest lens I have, let's say a 77mm thread size for my 70-200mm lens, and I could get the step-up ring to step that 77mm variable ND down to my 67mm lens. So now I can use that one variable ND on both lenses by just having this one tool right here, and I have a link in my description down below for this one I use. It's 30 bucks and it's a little more than most on Amazon, but it's very sturdy, and I highly recommend this one if you guys want one or want to check that out. All right, moving back into this video, I'm going to be doing 4 different tests for the ND filters. The first one will be the PMVND in S-Log2. The second one will be the PMVND with no picture profile. The third one will be with the Tiffen with S-Log2, and the fourth test will be the Tiffen with no picture profile. All right, so we're all done in this office, and I'll be seeing you guys in Sedona where I'll be doing the comparison test.
All right, guys, I'm in Sedona right now at a beautiful hotel, and we have a gorgeous view of the Red Rocks in the distance. It's around 10 a.m., so it's pretty bright out, and it's perfect to test this variable ND. So I already noticed that this 2 to 5 stops isn't enough if you guys normally shoot in S-Log2 and would normally want to shoot in 4K 24 frames per second, because at 5 stops it's still really overexposed. And the footage you're seeing right now, I had to shoot at 120 frames per second, so my shutter speed could be 1/250, and of course I could have bumped up the shutter for 24 frames per second since I'm on a tripod, but just giving you guys a real life scenario right now, I'm going to be shooting at 120 frames per second because that's the only frame rate I could get proper exposure for S-Log2. So right now it's perfectly exposed for S-Log2. It's plus 2.0 stops, or 2 stops overexposed, and I'm already right at the 5 stops of the variable ND. And I'm going to show you guys what it looks like at the minimum and changing it all the way up to 5 stops. So right now, as you can see, it's at the very minimum of the Peter McKinnon Variable ND. This is going to be at the 2 stops. This is at 3 stops. This is better at 4 stops, but it's still overexposed. Now I'm going to 5 stops, and this is the maximum, and I'm at plus 1.3 stops. So I could drop it down a little bit right below it gets, right before it gets to 5. And this is plus 2.0 stops. And for me, that's perfectly exposed for how I like to shoot S-Log2. All right, so the second test is still with the PMVND, the 2 to 5 stops. And I'm gonna show you guys a test with no picture profile and me properly exposing it with the exposure meter going to 0. So right now, it's at the very minimum. This is at the 2 stops, still overexposed, 3 stops. This is at 4 stops, and the 2.0 exposure meter is still blinking. And this is at the maximum of 5 stops. And the exposure meter is at plus 1.0. So still overexposed, and the PMVND doesn't really hold up for no picture profile, even when trying to properly expose it. All right, so right now I have the Tiffen Variable ND on, and it's properly exposed, hopefully at plus 2.0 stops, overexposed on the exposure meter. But I could already tell the color looks a lot different than the Peter McKinnon does, but I could get proper exposure still shooting S-Log2 in 4K 24 frames per second because this variable ND goes up to 8 stops. So I'm going to show you guys the very minimum right now. This is the minimum. This is 2 stops, 3 stops, 4 stops, and 5 stops, still overexposed. 6 stops, it's getting better. 7 stops. All right guys, so right here is at the very maximum of 8 stops. The exposure meter is plus 2.0, which is perfectly exposed. But looking on the screen right now, it still looks dark. I'm not sure if it's me or just being in direct sunlight right now with no monitor. So I'm gonna try to bump it down a little bit. Hopefully that's proper exposure. So like right around here. So in this test, the Tiffen ND can get proper exposure because it has 8 stops on the variable ND, which is great if you want to shoot 4K, 24 frames per second in direct sunlight. And this is a test with S-Log2, and I'm going to show you guys a test with no picture profile. All right guys, so this is a test with no picture profile. It's perfectly exposed around the 7 stops right now since the exposure meter is at 0, but I'm going to show you guys a test just from the minimum all the way up to the maximum for this 8 stop variable ND by Tiffen. So right now, this is the minimum. This is at 2 stops, 3 stops, 4 stops, 5 stops, 6 stops, 7 stops, which is perfectly exposed, and then maximum of 8 stops, which is underexposed by negative 0.7 on the exposure meter. So bumping it back up to being properly exposed. I don't know if you can tell, but the colors do look a lot different. I'm going to pull it up on the computer just to check out the corners, see if there's vignetting, see if there's that greenish hue or tint, and compare the Tiffen Variable ND to the Peter McKinnon with a couple different specs I'll be comparing and see which one is the better buy for you.
All right, so we're back in the office, and now I'm going to be going over the specs comparing both the PMVND and the Tiffen Variable ND Filter, and going over which one is my favorite and what might be best for you. So the first comparison, we'll be talking about price. So the PMVND is currently priced at $299 for both the 2 to 5 stops or the 6 to 9 stops, while the Tiffen Variable ND is only priced at $111.99 on B&H Photo. So for that specific comparison, the Tiffen ND Filter will win in price. All right, so now we're going to be comparing the build quality of each of the ND filters. Looking at both of them, the Peter McKinnon one is very thin and lightweight compared to the Tiffen one, which is a little bit bulkier and a little bigger in width. So comparing those two, I'd have to go with the build quality of the Peter McKinnon. Even though it's pretty comparable, the Peter McKinnon is lighter. The third test comparing these two will be the number of stops. So the one I have for the Peter McKinnon Variable ND only goes from 2 to 5 stops, while the Tiffen one I have goes from 2 to 8 stops. So comparing those two, the Tiffen one will win that test. But also keep in mind the Peter McKinnon one does come in a 6 to 9 stop range, but it doesn't go from 2 to 9 stops. Comparing these two specifically right now, the Tiffen one will win that test. The fourth comparison will be what the actual product comes with. So you can see right here, this is a branded box of Peter McKinnon Variable ND by PolarPro comes in. It's a very nice box. The branding is on point. This is how the packaging comes in. It also comes with this lens cover, which is super neat that I've never seen before. It's a rubber cover that goes over your variable ND. So I could place it over the cap. It's like a cap for my variable ND, and it's a hard shell that protects it if I have it screwed on or if I have it in a ND filter case. It won't damage the front of the ND filter, which is super crucial, especially when you're investing in a $300 ND filter. But on the bottom of the box, it also has a little card right here, a picture that Peter probably took, and a nice padded ND filter case if you wanted to put this in your camera bag as well. Now comparing it to that, the Tiffen one just comes in this cheap little ND filter pouch, which has no really great branding at all. Not even padded as much as the Peter McKinnon one. So that's what the Tiffen one comes in. So of course, the Peter McKinnon Variable ND will win that test. So moving on to the most important comparison, which is the color and the tint of the actual quality of the ND filter. So I snapshotted a picture from one of my video frames that I'm going to be looking at on my phone, and looking at the quality of the color, the PMVND has a perfect color right out of the camera, straight out of the camera. It doesn't really have a color change to it. The temperature and the tint seems to be on point. It's pretty much perfect straight out of the camera with the PMVND. While looking at the Tiffen one, you could see I have blotches of color on the actual footage itself. So on the lower portion, you see like a bluish, greenish blotch of color, and it's very inconsistent throughout the actual frame itself. So on the top right, you can see a blotch of blue, and that is definitely not up to par if you're using this kind of ND filter for a client's video. I'm not sure if this is only my variable ND from Tiffen or if other people experience this as well, but just comparing those two ND filters out in the field, the PMVND will definitely win that test. Moving on to the last comparison, which will be the vignetting. And you'll probably notice it more when you shoot at a wider focal length. And the footage you're seeing right now, I'm shooting at 17mm with a Tamron 17 to 28mm lens. So that should be a good comparison comparing these two ND filters. So looking at the PMVND, you see minor vignetting on the bottom left, top right. While looking at the Tiffen one, you can see minor vignetting as well. But that color just throws me off, so I'm gonna have to give this vignetting comparison a win to the PMVND. Before summing it up and giving you guys my final thought, go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification bell if you guys haven't already, so you guys can be notified when I drop my newest video. So in conclusion, after doing those 6 comparisons, the PMVND, or the Peter McKinnon Variable ND Filter, outperforms the Tiffen one by 4 to 2. So for $300, do I think the PMVND filter is worth it? Yes. Because if you're investing thousands of dollars in your camera gear, I highly recommend spending an extra $300 on a high quality ND filter just so you get the most out of your footage. If you're spending $100 on a decent or a subpar variable ND filter, then it kind of diminishes your quality of work and all the money you invested into your lens or your camera. But there is one downside to the PMVND, and that is to make sure you know which one to purchase, because there is a 2 to 5 stop one, which I have, as well as the 6 to 9 stop one. After doing the test, I noticed that the 2 to 5 stop one was not enough for the footage I was shooting, and that was 4K 24 frames per second and S-Log2 in direct sunlight. So if you're shooting footage like that, I highly recommend getting the 6 to 9 stop range if you're shooting at a low f-stop of f2.8 or lower. But also keep in mind, if you're just starting out or you're only a couple months into your filmmaking career, maybe don't invest in a $300 ND filter if it's not needed, and if you don't have the budget, invest in something more budget friendly like the Tiffen one, or a lot of other ones people recommend out there like the Hoya. There's different brands. Just take a little bit more time to research about the ND filter you're about to spend your money on before making that purchase. So real quick, summing this up, I highly recommend the PMVND if you have $300 to spend, but make sure you invest in the right one, the 2 to 5 stop one or the 6 to 9 stop one. If you're shooting S-Log2 outdoors, maybe go with the higher 6 to 9 stops. If you're shooting 120 frames per second outdoors or in the afternoon, then maybe the 2 to 5 stop one is perfect for you. And if you guys like this video, go ahead and click that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you guys can be notified when I drop my next video. And I appreciate you guys who watched it all the way through. And also comment below which one you thought was your favorite, the PMVND or the Tiffen Variable ND. And I'll see you guys in the next one, fam.